This part talks about teaming, to learn, to innovate, and compete. Two of the major benefits of teaming are better organizational performance and more. Teaming is a dynamic activity that is not bounded. It is determined by the mindset and practices of the team members rather than the design and structures of the effective teams. In today's business environment necessitate that people know how to team, and that's with skills and flexibilities to act at times of the potential collaboration. Teaming does not come naturally to teams and organization. A successful teaming requires speaking up, collaboration, experimentation, and reflection. Um, each of the behaviors is implemented an iterative cycle with each successive cycle is informed by the previous one.
Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'll be discussing organizing to learn, and we will talk about feeling better to succeed faster and teaming across boundaries. When we're talking about failing to succeed faster, we are having the determination and the commitment when we're on a journey to reach our desired goals. We're having faith and allowing our teams to step outside the box, outside of their comfort zone, which is very important. Also, what we want to do is we're learning from past mistakes so we don't dare repeat them, which is very important. Something else is seeking mentorship and professionals who have already traveled this road to assist us on our projects or on our journey. Also, we want to definitely be coachable, to be open to accept constructive criticism. Feeling better to succeed also is allowing ourselves to be innovative while also allowing ourselves to extend past our limitations. So something I would like to quote from Maddox 2012, he says, you need to accept the fact that you're going to fail if you're going to do your best work. And you need to make sure that everyone on your team and your entire company understands that. So that's a little bit in our organization to learn, talking about failing better to succeed faster. The next we are talk about is teaming across boundaries. So when we're talking about discussing teaming across boundaries, we want organizations who are becoming high performing with expertise, knowledge, and high impact, who are offering interconnectedness through work practice. Also is investing in workforce. Labor isn't a commodity, it's a cost to be minimized and controlled. So good quality jobs equate to higher productivity, and that's cited by Gregerson in 2016. We also want to allow for all team members to be able to express their ideas in a team environment. Something else with teaming across boundaries is having empathy for multicultural diversity in a teaming environment for new projects to come together. Because many times everyone who are working on a project are basically coming from different perspectives and different backgrounds, and they're coming together. So it's very important to be able to express ideas in an environment as such. Also, we want to create a safe space for other senior leaders to participate with ideas among their peers, providing vision, support, and encouragement. Thank you.
Teaming, how organizations learn, innovate, and compete in the knowledge of economy. Part 2, A and B. Teaming is more than a new way of working. It is to learn, innovate, and compete together. How is that done, especially when everyone is different, with different ideas, cultures, and more? One successful way to get together is to frame with communication. Framing is understanding communication and the reality that is shared within it. It is how context features are shaped within language, making the meaning of communications more manageable. As an effective leader, it is important to understand how what we communicate is received by others. It is also important to know that many times goals cannot be accomplished alone, so aligning with the interest of others will help goals be met. This is one of the important goals of building a team. Examples of the influence of framing have been seen the last few years in politics of the United States presidential races. One party starting slurs about the other party practically divided the country. Framing can influence how things that matter are spoken, and it also influences reasoning. Strengthening the framework between members of a team can build relationships, making them stronger, and if done wrong, can cause a divide. Building a team and making them aware of framing is critical, and making sure that what is being said and understood is what we intended to communicate to others. Using framing to build a team will make it easier to come together as a group, basically making it safe to be a team. Using guidelines for framing is also helpful. 6 rules that can be used as guidelines are as follows. Always try to control the context if possible. Events cannot be controlled, but how they are seen can be. This is a good framing opportunity. Framing is to define the situation now, so use it to connect with others of the team. Always apply ethics in your choices. Framing is an act of persuasion, so using ethical persuasion is important. Sometimes there is confusion, undecidability, and uncertainty when interpretation is communicated. It is important to interpret uncertainty when the chance presents itself to help keep what was communicated clear and understood. When problems arise because of misunderstanding what was spoken, it is important to design the response to the context. This is done through actions and framing, using persuasion to help figure out the context intent. Also, controlling spontaneity is a part of effective framing. It is important for the team to learn to control communication spontaneous so there are no misunderstandings. Using these rules can build a team, making them feel secure as part of the team. Framing will also help the team to learn the skills that are required to be better team members, to help them master their communication skills, to communicate whatever vision they might have for the team and its goals, and to set priorities for everyone to follow. The team members will feel safe to be able to argue their points and be validated by the openness that framing has led them to. It is important to remember that how framing is conducted shows what the effects of the team really is. In conclusion, the impact of framing can build a strong team if the right communication is presented. Keep communication ethical, open, and honest, and in the reality. This will keep the team members feeling safe within the group, with the ability to learn what is needed without fear of failing, but with faith that they will grow because of the positive framing within the team. Reference were McKinney, with no date, The Power of Framing, blog, and Ross J. S., The Power of Framing, It's Not What You Say, It's How You Say It, 2017. Thank you.
Today we'll be talking about execution as learning. Execution as learning means operating in a way that allows organizations to learn as they go. It means that work groups, departments, or entire companies can adjust, improvise, or innovate while at the same time successfully delivering products or services to customers. It is a way of operating that is deliberately and consciously iterative, where action and reflection go hand in hand. Execution as learning takes place in small groups or teams. Some groups are relatively stable, such as might be found in a factory production line. According to Pinnacle 2019, the process of successfully executing strategy begins with the organization's leadership. They are responsible for developing and clearly articulating a vision as a starting point for the strategy development. The leadership team then identifies strategy imperatives which are deemed essential to realizing this strategy vision based on company market conditions, threats and opportunities, and other influences. There are four components to execution as learning: diagnose, design, act, and reflect. It is important to diagnose the situation, challenge, or problem facing the organization, including how much is currently known about how to execute in a situation as such. Designing an appropriate action plan for execution as learning. Acting on the plan while viewing it as an experiment from which to learn. Reflecting on the process and outcomes to begin a new cycle. Key components of execution as learning are: the leader set direction. Deliberately tentative work processes are put in place as a starting point. Constant small changes are a way of life. Feedback is two-way. Employee judgment is essential. Fear inhibits experimentation, analysis, and problem solving, and the goal is to create long-term value. While looking at execution as learning, you have to compare to the difference of execution as efficiency. When looking at execution as efficiency, there are many differences from execution as learning. First, leaders have the answers, whereas the execution as learning, the leaders set the direction. In execution as efficiency, stable work processes are put in place. Implementing change is seen as a huge undertaking. Feedback is one way, whereas execution as learning, feedback is two-way. Employee judgment is discouraged, where employee judgment is discouraged, as where in execution as learning, employee judgment is essential. Fear of the boss is normal, and the goal is to capture profits today. Now we're going to look at execution as learning in three contexts: under diagnose, design, act, and reflect. When you look at diagnose and routine operations, you want to question how are we performing against target measures. In complex operation, you want to look at what risks do we face. And in innovation operations, you want to look at what opportunities might we explore. When we look at design and routine operations, select a performing dimension and an approach for improving it. In complex operations, identify a problem to solve and brainstorm alternatives. In innovation operations, you decide on one possibility for experimentation and design the first step. Under ACT, in routine operations, you follow a structured or scripted operations to improvement. In complex operations, you test the alternative offline if a high-risk operation. In innovation operations, you experiment with prototypes. Under reflect, in routine operations, did the targeted performance improve? Under complex operations, did alternative work to solve the problem or lower the risk? In innovation operations, what do we learn from the failures that occur?